So we're just going to be looking at replacing the latch in my VW Passat Alltrack tailgate. You'll notice it's the 2-litre TDI. It's a 2015-16 model, and one of the issues that's developed with this and also a previous car we've owned is to do with the opening of the rear boot, the electronic rear boot. So you see, if I use the key and to unlock the boot, it'll get to about there and stop. If you push the key again, it'll start to raise a bit further. And if I hold it again, it'll go all the way up. And there we have it open. Now, I've actually looked at this problem multiple times for quite a while now and read a lot of stuff online, and I've discovered that one of the key themes is not the actual struts here, the electronic struts. It's actually to do with, I believe, the latch. We're hoping it's going to be the latch. Now, I've actually purchased two previous Chinese third-party replacements for the latch up here. I have replaced it twice, and that's helped in some ways because it's demonstrated that there was no problems with the struts. As soon as I put the latch in, the door would open all the way up automatically and close all the way down. But the problem with the Chinese parts is that they don't allow the latch to actually close properly at the bottom. Now, I noticed in one of the comments online on the one of the Chinese purchasers had noticed that it's to do with the micro switches in the Chinese product. Now, for those of you who are a little bit fearful of removing the latch, which I was, it actually isn't that difficult, and for someone who's done it before, you can probably do it in around about 10 minutes. So the things I'm going to do first, if I can remember correctly, is remove this section here, just using your fingers, and we're going to remove this section up here. Now, the next section that we need to do is I'm going to, hopefully you can see this, I'm going to open up the back here, take out a bit of weight out of the actual, this is not necessary, I'm going to take a bit of weight out of the back of the rear trim, just to make it easier to remove. You can just see inside there the top of the latch. And you also see that there are a couple of screws, one here, but in addition to that, you also need to remove this cover here from memory. There we go, removing that piece. Once you remove that piece, you just look up here, you'll notice there are a couple of screw holes here and in here. So we need to remove those screws using a hex head screwdriver, and I'll show you what size that is before we get stuck into it. And you see here I have a very cheap screwdriver set. This is the hex head that I'm going to use. If you look on the packet there, it's a T20 Torx. So Torx screwdriver head, and I'm just going to attach it to this piece here, and then I'm going to remove those screws. So you can see I'm going to just put that hex head screwdriver in there. I don't know if you can see that. That's one. Okay, so now I've got that one in there. Okay, there we go, this one here. So this is the 4 screws. Now that's basically it. I'm going to just tighten that back up. Now it's a matter of just pulling the trim off. You'll notice one of the hassles is that you've got the actual boot close button there, and obviously there's a wire connecting that on the other side, so you can't just pull the whole trim off completely. It's going to be attached on the inside. So to pull the trim off, the memory, it's just a matter of getting your hand in here and pulling it away. And we're going to do the same thing over there. And so you can see that I've now pulled off the trim. So when we pull this off, you will see that there is the switch there, which we've just got to take out. And it's pretty straightforward because a couple of wires there just unclip. So if you can see that, there's a couple of just an easy little clip to actually, just a little toggle on the back, you just squeeze that and then it slides out of the hole. So just so you can see this up close, on the back of the switch there is a little toggle thing you need to squeeze. You can see that, which you need to squeeze, and that'll just allow it to slide out. Now up here, to remove the latch, you need to take off the cover. There we go, so that's just slid off. Just pull it off. There's nothing holding it on apart from the fact that you just do it a force. Now you'll see up here that there is a clip that needs to come out, so that's pretty straightforward. Just pop that out. You can see that the fact that I'm just squeezing that little toggle there, and I'm just going to wiggle that out, hopefully. There we go. You can see little toggle on the side, pretty straightforward. Just slides out of that 4-pin connector. You'll also be able to see, hopefully here, there is the part number just up there, and you'll see that this is the old model, and the 2015-16 Passat is actually 2000, sorry, it ends in a D, and the new one ends in an F. So this is 3G0827506D, and the new one ends in a F instead of D. One of the hassle parts that you'll notice when you first go to remove the latch is actually getting this little plastic piece out here that just pops out to the side. Now I've actually broken that a little bit in the past when I was taking it out, but it doesn't make any difference. And here's a little spring here. Now one of the key things to getting this out with the latch, which no one told me about, is the fact that there is a little door. There's a little door on the side which needs to be popped open. And when you pop that open, you can now more easily get access to remove the wire that slots inside. And that wire comes up to this rotation device here, which measures the opening and the closing of the boot. So we need to remove that, and I'll basically show you how that works in a moment. We're going to start removing the nuts from the bolts that secure the latch. This is a 12mm socket for these bolts. Pretty simple. Just rotate those off. There's number one. Very easy. And here is number two. I'll just stop recording in a second because the whole latch is going to fall off. Now once you've removed the bolts, you will think that it's still secured with something, but it's actually just a little tab behind As you can see, there's a little tab which just holds into the socket slightly. So it's actually just a bit of a wiggle, and that comes out just like that. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't show you how I was doing because it required two hands, but you'll see that this little spring wire has a little hook on the end of it, and you cannot get that out unless you open the door on the side of the latch. So you need to have that open, as you can see, and underneath that there is a little space so you can raise up the metal or the wire, and you can pull it out effectively. There's a little tab underneath. You'll get it when you actually set, but hopefully that just telling you about that door will make all the difference for getting the wire out, because it's not immediately obvious. Now here you'll see the new latch in its original box. As you can see, it came from Bayford Volkswagen in Epping in Victoria. These are, just so you know, $300. The Chinese copies are $40, but a $40 copy is pointless if it doesn't work. Let's just hope this one works. So here we have the new latch. Should look identical to the old one pretty much. The big difference is the fact that if we look very closely there, you see the F on the end of the part number. And fingers crossed, once we've put all this in place, we'll be set to go. So just so you know, when you buy a new latch, it comes with this little plastic thing which helps you to move the arm across so you can slot the wire in. Now again, I won't go through all the detail of it, but just be aware you need to remove this piece of plastic. It is just purely to help you slide the latch across to get the wire in. So I'm just going to remove that now. So there's the little piece of plastic, and as you can see, it's now removed from underneath the latch. So you see I've got the new latch in place, plastic's in, close the door on the side, just in there to make sure it can't pop out again. Push the tab in from behind, and then I've screwed the two nuts back on, and hopefully we're now going to, you'll see that there is nothing involving any of these other sections here, and hopefully we can just let's obviously pop that back in. Let's pop the wires back in there. Now the hassle is, which you definitely can't do with two hands, is hold the trim whilst you're putting the boot close button back together again. So I'm going to have to stop this for a second. Don't forget to put your latch cover back on before you put the boot trim back on, because you can't get it on afterwards. So that just slides on like that. Alright, so you see now that I put the trim back on. It's a slight hassle, not a major hassle, but make sure that the cover plastic, the trim plastic, goes over the top of that plastic there, otherwise it won't shut properly. So hopefully I've done all that correctly. Now the hassle is getting these silly covers back in. I'm sure they're there for a reason, to enable access to the lights, but they're a bit of a pain to get back in. Trim pieces back in. Bit of a hassle. Just remember, when you're putting them back in, you need to bend them in the middle to make it sort of come towards you a bit so you can get the tabs underneath. Alrighty, so put the screws back in here, screws back in here. I can pop this back in. I can pop that back in. Secure that. If you haven't heard this before, basically in order to get your door to open all the way up, if you want to set it, you need to hold this button here for about 10 to 20 seconds, and you'll hear a noise when it's set. So holding it down, you hear that noise, which means you've set now the maximum opening height for the rear door. Now, moment of truth, we're going to see if this thing closes, because I've got my doubts. So, closing, closing, closing. Now I reckon I'm going to have a... There we go. Look at that. I have. Now let's see if we can get it to work again. I'm just going to open the rear boot. And look at that, opening up perfectly. Now we're going to close it again. Beautiful. Just going to open it again just to check. I'll do it this time using the rear boot thing. Beautiful. Might just open it a bit more. Reset it again. Different height. We're going to push it down again. And look at that, it is perfect. Well, I hope you found that useful. It's taken me a long time to work out how to work through this problem, and it seems to be a common problem, and I'm hopefully going to save you a bit of time and money.